Everybody, how's it going? We're talking about popular niche fragrances that I don't really like, and I'll explain to you why. All right, the first one is Oud Satin Mood by MFK. It looks like this, but it's like this dark purplish liquid, and it's a beast mode fragrance. That is what I give it. If you're somebody that wants that attention, you want a fragrance that's dominant, something that lasts forever, we're talking over 24 hours, no problem, then sure, go for Oud Satin Mood. But for me and for my nose, yes, it's a little bit too intense, but the actual smell of it to me isn't really that divine. You know what I mean? I find it to kind of smell a little bit mature. And if you're thinking, oh, it's probably your skin with the fragrance, no, I'm talking about when I even spray it in the air, when I smell it on clothes. Like, there's some part of it that kind of reminds me of a grandmother, just a little bit, that I just can't really get with. And sometimes it's there, sometimes it's not. And overall, the fragrance is like, I could tolerate the actual scent of it. You know what I mean? Like, there's sometimes when I'm smelling it, I'm like, okay, it's kind of nice, but it's a bit too hot and cold for me, you know? And I know a lot of people have their firm opinions about Oud Satin Mood, how much they love it, or some people really do hate it. And for me, I'm kind of in the middle about it. I don't hate the fragrance. I'm not in love with it, but at the same time, I don't really like it. It's nothing that I would ever wear again, just because, first of all, it doesn't really kind of fit my vibe, you know, and it's just everything except the scent is amazing. You know what I mean? It's just like the scent itself doesn't really take me there. It doesn't really scratch the itch for me. It's marketed as a unisex fragrance, and I think that, you know, anybody can pull it off if they wanted to. I do believe, though, that it goes more on the feminine side. But yeah, I mean, that juice is some serious business, and I can respect it because it's something that is a uniqueness of its own. You're not gonna get that confused with anything else. So the next fragrance I'm gonna throw in here is a huge fan favorite from Parfums de Marly, and it's Herod. So Herod has been a fragrance that has kind of done like a bell curve thing for me, where it's like I had a honeymoon phase with it. The first time I tried it, hated it, couldn't stand it, didn't know why people liked it. After a few wears, I'm like, okay, you know what? I like it. This is it's a decent fragrance. It's more of a burnt tobacco leaf sort of smell, but I was getting with it, right? And then I was kind of riding this mediocre line of liking it for a minute, and then like when I wore it more and more, I was like, I don't really like this. And I think that decline also started happening when I was smelling other Parfums de Marly fragrances and wearing them more often, and I was like, yeah, I feel like it definitely got outshined. I've made several videos as to what is my favorite Parfums de Marly. So just after smelling that one and wearing Carlisle numerous amounts of times, it's like I don't want to wear Harry, and on top of that, it just doesn't really scratch that itch for me. That fragrance is marketed as masculine. I do find it to be very unisex, though. Like, if you're somebody that just likes that leafy tobacco sort of smell and you want that cozy vibe, it's there. And I'm not saying I don't like the fragrance's actual scent, but it's just kind of, again, I was a bit hot and cold with it, but it kind of went like that, like this a little bit, and then ever since it's just kind of been on the decline. So people have asked me for my opinion on that specific scent. They're like, oh, wait till you try Herod if you love Leighton and if you love Carlisle. But for me, it's just it's just not there. I don't really like it. I haven't really worn it recently because it's been warmer, but I have given that thing a lot of wears, and it just didn't really do it for me. All right. But I know that a lot of men specifically love this fragrance. They're like, oh my gosh, no, it's the best thing ever. And if you love it, please continue to do so. But for me, it's a pass. It's a total pass. I think my favorite tobacco fragrance personally is Naxos by Xerjoff. But you can also argue that that's more of a honey scent, and then the tobacco is kind of playing like second fiddle in the fragrance. And I would agree with you, but I just find this to be like a much more smooth fragrance, and it also has amazing projection, a great scent trail, and longevity. And that is something that Herod lacks. At least the one I know I tried 3 different versions of Harrod. One at Nordstrom, one from Parfums de Marly, and one from, I think one from Max Aroma. And they all had the same performance on me. I know I said different versions, but different places, I guess, is where I got them from. But they all performed the same. They were very much like a skin scent or something very close to my scent bubble. And with a tobacco fragrance, I was expecting it to at least have some decent projection, at least get me about an arm's length away. But people could only really smell it when they were just like close to me, hugging me. You know what I mean? So that was kind of a bit, that was also a little off-putting with that fragrance when you take into account the scent profile and the longevity and the projection that I got from it and the price of it. For me, it wasn't really that justifiable. I think I would give it much more points if it had some really good performance going on. But I do know that some people that have, I guess, original batches of Harrod get really nice performance, and that is awesome. That is awesome. Okay, the third fragrance I'm going to mention is, ooh, almost dropped that. Scent of Peace by Bond Number 9. Now, let me tell you, is this a fragrance you're going to keep hearing me recommend? Yes, it is, because I know what this type of fragrance can do. It's a fresh pineapple type of DNA. And after spending a lot of time with this fragrance, I mean, you've seen my first impression of it. I did a full review of it. And similar to Harrod, there was a moment where I was really riding with this, and then there was that drop off. You know what I mean? Because for me, if you've watched a lot of my videos, then I noticed that I say this a lot, where if I smell specifically a niche fragrance that reminds me of another scent, it kind of docks some points off of it. You know what I mean? Because it doesn't really stand on its own. And if you're paying a price that's over $200 to smell like something that I've smelled countless times, it kind of it lacks the individuality, and then it's like the price is a bit high, even though the scent itself is pretty decent, right? So with this one, to me, the first fragrance that came to my mind was, the Creed Aventus Club de Nuit Intense DNA. Absolutely, right? Some people don't get that. They're like, no, I don't get Aventus at all. To me, it was very obviously there. Even the other one was Electimus London's, not Imperial Cashmere, no, Imperium. I think it's called Imperium or Imperial, something like that. And I think because I smelled those fragrances before this one, that's why I'm not too crazy about Scent of Peace, even though I know that this has the mass appealing factor, which is why I said you would still hear me recommend it, even though it's not my personal favorite. Because if you're somebody that just wants something really nice to wear and you find Creed Aventus to be a bit overworn, and you don't want to wear something that is owned by a lot of people, but you're a sucker for that scent profile, then Scent of Peace is a good alternative. But, after smelling also Club de Nuit Intense Man, which is this $30 fragrance that has a very similar DNA to Creed Aventus, and also with like this Scent of Peace fresh pineapple. No, they're not exactly the same, of course, but it's just when I smell a niche fragrance, and one of the first things that comes to my mind is like this $45 scent, I start to kind of gauge whether or not I find it to be worth it. And for me, just because of the redundancy of a bunch of fresh pineapple scents that I've smelled, I don't really find Scent of Peace, the masculine one, to be, it's not something that I really like and that I enjoy, because there's nothing really about it that stands out to me. You know what I'm saying? Like if I smelled this in a room filled with people, I wouldn't be like, oh, they're wearing Scent of Peace. I'm like, okay, they could potentially be wearing Scent of Peace, Creed Aventus, like just catching it in the air, not actually smelling that person and being like, hold on, wait a second, let me try to figure out what you're wearing. No, none of that, but just catching a whiff of it, I'm like, okay, I know what kind of fragrance that is. And the first one that would come to my mind would not be Scent of Peace. That being said, I do want to reiterate, because some people are going to be like, no, this is a good fragrance. And it is, but I just want to drive to the ground that this does not differentiate itself enough from other things that smell like it, which is why I don't like it as much. You know what I mean? So Scent of Peace by Bond Number 9 is on there. There was another scent that I was gonna throw in, bro, that I can't believe I forgot about. It was Scent of Peace. Oh, here, this one. This one. It's Creed Royal Oud. And this one is a popular scent for a lot of the guys in the fragrance community. In fact, it's only been men that have recommended this fragrance to me. They're like, oh, you have to try it. And no lie, I mean, I can, after smelling it a few times, I could see where you're coming from, how they're like, oh yeah, this is definitely an upscale, dressed up, polarizing scent. That I completely agree with, right? But the actual smell of it does kind of remind me of Old Man. Not gonna lie to you. Like, this is something that I have actually smelled. I remember I was at Walmart once, like one of those super Walmarts that have everything in them. And then there was this old guy passing by me that smelled like this. So like this, and I'm not sure if, I don't think it was Royal Oud, but whenever there's like an older gentleman that's around me that is wearing a fragrance, it's either very vetiver based or it smells similar to Royal Oud. So for that reason, I don't find this fragrance to be like, oh, it's so amazing. Like, this is really like something profound and something that nobody else smells like, because this DNA is also, at least with the people in my area, a lot of older guys over 60 wear things like this, which is why I wasn't really taken with the fragrance. Like, for me, if you're going for grandpa vibes, like with the sweater vest and like whatever hat Ryan Gosling was wearing in The Notebook and some suspenders, then yeah, you can wear Royal Oud, you know what I'm saying? But I just don't like it. I personally do not like this fragrance, but if you enjoy these, let me just say again, please continue to wear them and let me know what fragrances in the description that, or in the comment section, that you don't like. Because I know that there's people that are subscribed to me that hate Elysium and Tuxedo and Afternoon Swim, all that sort of stuff. And that's all fine by me. But if you're interested, I'll put the names of the fragrances and the discount site links in the description below. I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.